Here's a tough but useful question to ask yourself. Am I trying to wake up, to be alive and awake in the world, or am I just trying to upgrade my identity? That's a good question. And so in this video, I'm just going to explore why I didn't follow the idea of healing. I don't use the terminology healing, and I really didn't take on that terminology. And I'm going to share with you why I didn't. And it's not that I didn't have a spiritual ego and was just trying to upgrade my identity, because yes, I did catch myself doing that. And that's part of letting go of things, is the personalization. But what I noticed, and this is in the beginning of my spirituality, I went to kind of a, well, it wasn't kind of, it was a spiritual church. And one of the things was, we talked about like our pasts. And so I was part of the recovering Catholics. And we sat together and we talked about it. And there was this time when I just decided, hey, I'm not going to be a part of that group anymore. And I didn't really know why at that time, but I was like, I didn't want to identify with that. I didn't know that at the time, but I left it. And what I've noticed is that people who use the term healing often are just identifying. And how this happens is that they find out something about their past, about how they're raised, and then they go out and they name it. And they name it because my parents were this. And then they join a group of people, and then that's the story they talk about is, oh, I'm this and I'm still healing from this. And I because I'm this, so I'm still healing from this. I'm still this and I'm still healing for this. And I find that healing isn't what wakes us up. For me, I wouldn't use that terminology. It's the unconscious. Because if you just look at what trauma is, if there is such a thing as trauma, let's look at what it was. And let's just say somebody had something traumatic happen to them. Well, it's an imprint. It's an imprint into their being. And that imprint, then all it does is take us on another course. So we are making choices from an unconsciousness, from this unconscious of us not understanding. And so then the pain that we feel that comes to that is we start to name it nowadays, and we get diagnosed, and then we say we suffer from this, and then we cling to the people that have had the same situation. And the big part of that isn't just the identity, it's the fact that, heck, you don't know what your story is. You don't know how and if that trauma is affecting your life the same way that it affected other people's. But as soon as you start comparing yourself and naming the thing like other people, what you're doing is training your mind to have the thoughts like them, to connect with them, and you can be re-traumatizing yourself and building a bigger story, which causes you to have more healing, to need to have more healing along the way. So for me, my whole path is about unconsciousness, and it is only about figuring out the best way to see this world. And so I see the trauma and all these things as just imprints, and I don't know what they are, because if I know what they are and I name them, it's some kind of story that's going to go along with it. And if I share that with people, I don't even know that they can relate with it. So yes, I've had the dark night of the soul. And I don't even kind of like saying that. It's because what I realize is that I don't often share. Like, people just see me as a happy person now. But I've gone through, I've run myself through. I've taken myself into the darkness. Whatever was meant for me to go through, I did it. But I don't need credit for it. It's just the thing that you do. That's the thing you do if you want to awaken. So the way to look at it is, or you could possibly look at it, is that you're already whole. Like, you don't need healing. You just need direction. You just want to go in the best direction. And the best way and the fastest way is not to name things, not to join groups on and connect with people who have the same traumas and all these kind of things. You just will get stuck trying to compare your story with somebody else's story, and their story is totally different. They've got something else doing, and it's really just identity stuff anyway. It's like, just decide to wake up. Realize that, I can look at my parents. I haven't spoken to my father in over 25 years. And I can't say that I had the perfect parents. But I did have the perfect parents. I had the perfect parents for me. Because whatever I wasn't given in my childhood was part of my mystery to discover. Because they were doing exactly what they could do. If they could have known better, they would have done better. And so I love my parents, and that allows me to love them. Instead of telling some story about, oh, I didn't get this when I was a child, I didn't get that when I was a child. It's like, yeah, because that's part of my mystery. That's part of my discovery. It was always about my discovery. Like, look what I get to discover in this world. So yeah. It's an interesting question. Are you trying to upgrade your identity, or you want to wake up? Do you want to stay in B and just be talking with other identities and trying to move up in the stature with the other identities? Or do you want to break free and be you? Because you have your own course. So I'm not saying to stop saying healing. I'm not saying giving anybody any advice. I'm sharing with you what has worked wonders for me. And I can say that one of the strong points of view that I held was, don't take things personally. Read Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. Don't take things personally. And that's a big part of it, because when we do that, we start this measuring game. We start measuring our story against everybody else's story, and it's just identity saying, I'm better, I'm worse, victims of this and victims of that. And it's like, what if we just detach from that? Because that's going to be part of the ride. If you really want to wake up, if you want to be in B, if you want to be you, you don't have to have an identity to be connected to. You will just be you. The world will identify with you, but you don't need to have titles, and you don't need to espouse something to be better than anybody else. We're all just here having this experience together, and that's pretty damn cool. So, anyway, something to think about.